Chosen one, stop scrolling. Take a breath. Still your hands, still your thoughts. This isn't background noise. This isn't spiritual entertainment. This is a divine alert with your name on it, and you only have 45 minutes to respond before a door in the unseen realm either opens or closes. Not metaphorically, literally. Right now, the heavens are moving, and not everyone will perceive it. This message found you because God pushed it through the noise, through the algorithm, through your schedule, through every distraction the enemy tried to place in your path today. Why? Because something is happening in the spiritual realm that has direct consequences for your future. There's a divine blueprint being unrolled, and there's a moment, this moment, where heaven is pausing to ask you, are you in position, or are you still pretending there's time? You've felt it, haven't you? That strange restlessness, that unexplained heaviness in your chest, the sense that something is about to shift, but you can't quite explain it. That's not anxiety. That's not coincidence. That's divine resonance. Heaven has been trying to reach you, and now it's doing so with urgency. Like a trumpet you can only hear in the spirit. God is reaching out, and He's not asking for your perfection. He's asking for your attention. Because this time, if you ignore the sign, it won't come back the same way. There is a window, a sacred, fragile 45-minute window, in which destinies can be unlocked or delayed. And this message is the sign you asked for. Don't act like you didn't beg God for a confirmation, for a clear word, for a door to open. Well, it's here, but you must choose not to scroll past your own answer. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Matthew 11:15. Before they call, I will answer. While they are yet speaking, I will hear. Isaiah 65:24. Someone is mentioning your name in places you haven't even entered yet. There's a breakthrough hovering just beyond your reach, waiting for your obedience to activate it. And here's what the Spirit is whispering. If they don't move now, they'll miss what was meant for them. So if something inside you is trembling, if something in your chest says this is for me, then do not delay. Comment 777 right now as a spiritual declaration, not for algorithm, not for attention, but as a marker in time, as a signal to heaven. I heard you. I'm listening. I'm ready. And to those of you who've stood with us, prayed with us, and sown into this mission through super thanks, let me say this from my soul. Thank you. Your support isn't just generous, it's prophetic. You are part of building altars in digital spaces. Your giving isn't casual. It's a seed sown into the soil of sacred timing, and heaven has kept record of every silent yes you've whispered in secret. But don't tune out now, because the most critical part of this message, the piece you were meant to hear, is still coming. And trust me, what you hear next might just explain the battle you've been silently fighting. It may reveal the reason behind the delay, the betrayal, the closed door. You've waited long enough. The alarm has sounded. The 45-minute countdown has begun. What's coming next is not just a message, it's a spiritual covering for a war you didn't know was already in motion. Are you ready to hear it? Or will you miss what was always meant to find you? Let's find it out. God's chosen ones. God is reaching out. Only 45 minutes left. Don't miss the sign. There is a presence near you right now, more constant than time itself. Yet hidden in that presence is a truth buried beneath forced pleasantries and rehearsed concern. You've shared space with someone whose silence speaks louder than words, someone masking betrayal beneath loyalty. And tonight, chosen one, the veil begins to lift. Will it come through trembling lips, a slip of the tongue, a dream that lands like a weight in your chest. However it arrives, it won't be a coincidence. This is divine revelation. The heavens have declared no more delay. Why has your soul been pacing in stillness? Why the sudden waves of unease? Because the Holy Spirit always warns before the storm. Surely the Sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets. Amos 3:7. You are being warned because you are trusted. Let me tell you about Elena, an interior designer in Lisbon who gave her heart, home and resources to a friend, only to find her name forged in a betrayal she sensed long before. But she silenced that knowing. Have you been silencing yours? Think of Samson, called from birth, yet undone by misplaced trust. He gave Delilah a secret meant for God alone, and with it lost his strength and sight. Judges 16 shows us trust, when misplaced, can bankrupt your purpose. And Anthony Ray Hinton, who spent 30 years on death row, not betrayed by strangers, but by someone who whispered support while watching him fall. Sometimes it's not the loud enemy that wounds you, it's the quiet friend that watches. Guard your gates, emotional, spiritual, relational. Love builds, but deception observes. Loyalty covers, but false loyalty calculates. Do not give dogs what is sacred, or they may trample them and tear you to pieces. Matthew 7:6. Matteo, a violinist in Prague, once said, "They mimicked harmony but played dissonance in private." Maybe someone around you is mirroring your light, but hiding misaligned intentions. Have you been giving sacred parts of your soul to those who haven't earned that access? Even roses grow thorns for protection. Not all who admire your garden come to water it. Just like the volcanic soil that looks barren on the surface but conceals fire beneath, some people appear calm while harboring destruction. They walk beside you as if nurturing peace, but underneath, pressure builds, ready to erupt in betrayal if not discerned in time. So preserve your oil, protect your peace. What you feel isn't overthinking, it's holy discernment. And when the moment of clarity arrives, and it will, meet it not with shock, but with sacred readiness. And yes, He knows. God knows exactly how long you've waited, not just in time, but in heartache. He knows how many times you've swallowed disappointment just to keep the peace, how often you've chosen silence over justice, mercy over anger. Do you think your quiet obedience went unnoticed? Do you believe your lonely nights of faith were in vain? He was there. He heard every midnight whisper, saw every battle behind your smile, and counted every tear you let fall when no one else was watching. You gave grace when none was given back. You poured loyalty into empty vessels. And yet, have you ever wondered why your heart kept returning to kindness instead of bitterness? Why you could have retaliated, but chose restraint? That wasn't weakness. That was sacred strength. Psalm 126:5 says, "Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy." So what if your tears weren't signs of sorrow, but seeds of glory? Let me tell you about Leora, a janitor at a small school in Maine. Every night after the children left, she would pray over each desk, leaving behind more than just cleanliness. She left blessing. 15 years later, one of those students, now a global speaker, came back and told her, "I don't know how I survived school, but something always felt safe in that room. I think it was your prayers." How many rooms have you transformed without credit? How many lives have been shaped by your silent faithfulness? You carry something holy. That's why you've always felt like an outsider in crowded spaces. Why others misunderstood your silence and mishandled your loyalty. Have you felt the sting of being the most devoted, yet the least defended? The most generous, yet the least protected? You were never meant to blend in. You were always being set apart. And now the tables are turning. Can you sense the atmosphere shifting? Do you feel how certain rooms respond to you before you even speak? That's not ego, that's anointing. Just like David in 1 Samuel 16, God anointed him while others overlooked him. His destiny didn't begin in the palace, but in the pasture. You too carry oil from the hidden places, and soon your walk will speak louder than your words. Oprah Winfrey once said, "What God has for you is greater than what anyone can take from you." Have you realized yet that rejection was divine redirection? That what looked like a closed door was actually God rerouting you to the one no man could shut? Right now, the heavens are aligning. The door you thought had shut forever is beginning to crack open, not because you forced it, not because of luck, but because of surrender. Have you been asking God for a sign He still sees you? For confirmation that you haven't been forgotten? This is that moment. This is the echo of your whispered prayers. Revelation 3:8 declares, "I have set before you an open door which no one is able to shut." So ask yourself this, chosen one, are you ready to walk through the door your pain prepared? Are you prepared to shine in front of the very ones who thought you'd break? Because what's coming isn't compensation, it's coronation. What's coming isn't applause, it's appointment. Just like the aloe plant, which takes years to mature and bloom in dry, barren landscapes, your quiet season was not wasted, it was storage. The deeper the roots went during drought, the more powerful the healing stored in its leaves. You too have been storing strength in silence, preparing for a season where your very presence will carry remedy. But don't miss this moment. There is a divine timestamp on what's unfolding in your life. Spiritually speaking, you have only 45 minutes. A short window, not because God is restricted by time, but because you are being positioned in it. Obedience delayed is often obedience denied. So what are you hesitating for? Could this small window be the very turning point your future has been waiting for? Could the timing be so precise that ignoring it would cost you alignment? This is not about panic, it's about posture. What is the posture of your soul right now? Are you alert, surrendered and listening, or distracted, waiting for a louder sign, a more convenient hour? Heaven is watching what you choose next, and the weight of this decision is heavier than you may realize. Some paths are sacred. They are not meant to be walked casually or with divided focus. And make no mistake, the enemy has already released strategies against you. Are you discerning them? Some of these tactics come dressed as golden opportunities. Some arrive disguised as emotional support. Some even whisper promises that sound holy, but bend your spirit away from God's truth. Not all light comes from the Father of lights. Can you tell the difference between divine timing and deceptive temptation? There's a story of Jonah Miles, a promising startup founder from Colorado who was offered a lucrative investor deal during a critical season of spiritual formation. On paper, it was perfect, but something felt off. He fasted and prayed. Days later, the same investor was exposed for laundering funds through startups. Jonah said, "I was ready to say yes, but obedience whispered no, and saved my life." What is obedience whispering to you right now? And consider Justin Bieber, a global pop star who, after reaching fame and fortune at an early age, publicly walked away from toxic patterns and rededicated his life to Christ. At the height of success, he began to sense that not all platforms were built on purpose. In an interview, he said, "I had to realize that my calling wasn't just to perform, but to serve." He cancelled major shows, stepped back from spotlight influence, and leaned into spiritual growth, even when it confused the world. That wasn't weakness, that was wisdom. Sometimes what looks like rejection is actually divine redirection. Are you mourning closed doors God never meant to open? Are you chasing what heaven has already removed from your path? Colossians 2:8 warns, "See to it that no one takes you captive through hollow and deceptive philosophy." Not every path that appears polished leads to purpose. Remember the example of Jesus in the wilderness, Matthew 4. The enemy tempted him not with punishment, but with promises, glory, kingdoms, provision, all at the cost of one misaligned act. How many blessings have been delayed by counterfeit comfort? You are not under attack because you're weak. You're under attack because what you're carrying is weighty. The battle is intensifying not because you're failing, but because what's on the other side of this moment is too precious to leave unguarded. That spiritual tension pulling at your mind and spirit, that's not confusion, it's confirmation. He cannot destroy your calling, so the enemy will try to discourage you out of it. He will drain you through overthinking, seduce you with comfort, numb you with busy distraction, tire your spirit with delay. But, chosen one, will you recognize the scheme and rise instead of retreating? Just like the nocturnal bloom of the queen of the night cactus, which opens its petals for only a few short hours under the moon before closing forever, divine timing is rare and not meant to be paused for convenience. Miss the hour, and the beauty is gone. But meet it in stillness, and you'll witness glory few are positioned to see. The path ahead is sacred, the timing is divine, the responsibility is yours. God is about to place peace where you've only known pain. Can you picture waking up in the same space that once held sorrow, and suddenly finding joy blooming there? That's what's coming, a sacred exchange, a divine reversal. The very room that echoed your loneliness will soon resound with laughter. The very memory that broke you will soon hold no more power. Are you ready for that kind of restoration? Let this word pierce deep into your spirit. Do not return to what God has removed. That phone call you're tempted to answer, that familiar conversation you're debating, reigniting, that person who keeps circling your thoughts like a ghost of comfort, they are not your future. Why reopen what God already sealed shut? God's removal wasn't punishment, it was protection. How many times has He had to pull you away from what you thought was good, only to reveal it was draining your soul? Isaiah 43:18-19 says, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing." But how can He do something new if you keep revisiting the old? Let me tell you about Camille, a jazz pianist from New Orleans who was offered a record deal with a label that once mocked her for her faith. It seemed like a breakthrough, but every time she stepped into their studio, her spirit tightened. Night after night, she dreamed of being silenced. One morning she woke up, deleted the contract, and walked away. "I'd rather play in small rooms with the Spirit than on big stages without Him," she said. A week later, she was invited to tour with a gospel ensemble she'd prayed for years earlier. What doors are you still knocking on when God is building you a new gate? And think of Fantasia Barrino, Grammy-winning singer and former American Idol winner, who once nearly ended her life after toxic relationships, industry pressure, and soul-level fatigue pushed her to the brink. In her lowest moment, she turned back to God, walked away from manipulative voices, and rebuilt not just her career, but her identity. She later testified, "I had to lose everything just to find what truly mattered, my peace and my purpose." Now, she sings with more than skill. She sings with spirit. That wasn't career management, that was spiritual deliverance. Could your discomfort be the signal that God is trying to reroute your destiny? Don't ignore the subtle discomforts, that restlessness in your chest when certain people enter your space, that dream that lingers in your memory longer than it should, that strange pause in your spirit when someone's voice doesn't match their energy. What if those aren't random? What if they're signals from the Holy Spirit Himself nudging you to stay alert? Think of a deer in the forest, its ears twitching at the sound of a shifting breeze. The deer doesn't wait for danger to scream. It listens when creation whispers. You too are being trained to hear the whispers before the storm. And what's coming next is sacred. Sacred things require sacred awareness. Sacred transitions require sacred separation. Just like the autumn tree that releases its leaves not out of death, but to make space for deeper roots, your letting go is not loss, it's preparation. The shedding is seasonal, and the emptiness it creates is not a void, but a womb for rebirth. This separation isn't rejection, it's redirection. It's deliverance from confusion, from compromise, from counterfeit comfort. Can you let go of what only looked like love, but left you dry? Can you release the false refuge that masked itself as safety? You are not being left behind. You are being pulled ahead, ahead of the cycle, ahead of the pain, ahead of the distractions. And in this pulling, God is trying to give you something He's long prepared. A clean slate, a clear mind, a path shielded by His hand. Will you take it? He's not asking for your perfection, He's asking for your presence. James 4:8 says, "Draw near to God, and He will draw near to you." So draw near, stay close, and let Him finish the healing that began the moment you let go. Now your next step matters more than ever before, not tomorrow. Not when it's convenient, not when the feelings fade, but now, right now. This isn't a message to tuck away in a journal or a whisper to forget by morning. This is a divine summons, a spiritual moment of activation. Can you feel it? That unlocking in the spirit, that sense that something hidden is about to come to light, that what once felt buried is rising again, this time not to test you, but to reveal you. A conversation is approaching. A truth long restrained is nearing the surface. Will you face it through God's wisdom, or risk letting it unfold in a way that brings consequences never meant for you? Why do you think you were drawn to this message at this exact moment? Was it really coincidence, or has heaven been orchestrating this appointment all along? This isn't about fear, it's about focus. Heaven is still watching, not in punishment, but in purpose, because you've outgrown the boxes that once confined you. You've become too large in spirit to fit into spaces that once contained your voice, your vision, your value. Can you feel it? That sacred pull on your soul, that stretch in your chest that says, "I can't live this small anymore." You've carried dreams that no longer fit the life you've tolerated. The desires God planted in you are now pushing against the boundaries you once accepted. So here's the real question. Will you shrink to preserve their comfort, or will you expand to honor your calling? Let me tell you about Darius, a high school literature teacher who secretly wrote poetry for 20 years. Everyone around him expected modesty. He was just a teacher. But one day, a student found one of his poems and submitted it anonymously to a national contest. It won. When interviewed, Darius said, "I spent my whole life editing myself down to make others feel bigger, but now I've decided to take up space." What parts of yourself have you been editing down just to remain accepted? And consider Letitia Wright, an award-winning actress known for her role as Shuri in Black Panther, who boldly stood firm in her faith even when the world called her difficult for doing so. In an industry that applauds compromise, she chose conviction. She turned down roles that conflicted with her values. She risked her platform to honor her spiritual alignment. "My foundation is God," she once said, "and I don't want to compromise that for anything." Her clarity didn't come from comfort, it came from communion. And that clarity made her dangerous to systems that thrive on silence. Could it be that your quiet obedience is unsettling atmospheres too? Heaven is calling you toward a version of yourself that doesn't chase love, doesn't settle for half-truths, doesn't dim your light to keep others from feeling exposed, This next version of you has learned how to stand in the silence and say with peace, "This is not from God. I will pass." Yes, there's grief in this kind of growth. Yes, walking away from what once felt like home can break your heart. Yes, the questions come in the quiet. What if I lose them? What if I end up alone again? What if choosing obedience costs me everything I thought I wanted? Even Jesus in Gethsemane asked if the cup could pass, but then he surrendered. "Not my will, but yours be done." Luke 22:42. That moment wasn't weakness, it was holy strength, and you too are standing in a Gethsemane of your own. Just like tectonic plates shifting silently beneath the earth, your internal movement may not make noise, but it is restructuring everything. It's pressure that births mountains. You're not breaking down, you're breaking through. This quiet trembling is not destruction, it's formation. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Ephesians 2:10. You're not being asked to be fearless, you're being invited to be faithful. God isn't calling you to be loud, he's calling you to be clear. You're not being pulled away from people, you're being pulled toward your purpose. And remember, the righteous are as bold as a lion. Proverbs 28:1. So rise, step forward, and let heaven recognize you as ready. But hear this clearly, chosen one. It is far better to walk alone with God than to be surrounded by people who clap for your presence but curse your progress. Have you ever felt the weight of smiles that didn't match the silence behind your back? Have you sensed celebration on the surface but resistance in the shadows? Not all who walk with you walk for you, and some connections are meant to expire at the edge of your elevation. Would you rather stay surrounded and stagnant, or step forward and be refined? Waiting alone with God is not punishment, it's preparation. It's not delay, it's alignment. It's not loneliness, it's sacred clarity. Lot walked beside Abraham for years. They shared victories, land, family ties. But when it came time for the next promise, even that close connection had to be severed. Genesis 13 reveals that God did not even speak the next promise until Lot had gone. Why? Because elevation requires separation, and some promises don't unlock until the crowd thins. Are you willing to release what's familiar to receive what's eternal? Let me tell you about Ayla, a wedding photographer in Barcelona who turned down a job with a celebrity couple because of the unease she felt in her spirit. It wasn't fear, she said. It was something deeper, like my soul knew the price would be peace. She later found out the couple was known for publicly exploiting creatives. Her saying no made space for a life-changing project that reached thousands. What blessings are waiting to unfold once you dare to say no? And think of Jonathan Rumi, the actor who portrays Jesus in The Chosen and who turned down multiple high-profile roles that didn't align with his faith just before landing the part that would change his life and ministry. For years, he lived in near poverty, praying daily for direction while declining opportunities that didn't sit right with his spirit. It wasn't just about making it, he once said. It was about making space for God to move. And when God did move, it wasn't subtle, it was sacred. Sometimes the silence you choose is the stage heaven builds on. You're not losing people, you're making space for your purpose. Can you feel the divine hush over your life lately? That sacred silence that seems to press pause on everything but your spirit. That's not isolation, that's consecration. Angels are at your threshold, the atmosphere is shifting. Can you sense the whisper that says, don't delay, don't scroll past this moment? Just like the tide pulling back before a great wave, this stillness is not absence, it's momentum gathering in disguise. The sea may look calm, but heaven is preparing to crash glory onto the shores of your obedience. And just like a caterpillar sealing itself in a cocoon, unseen by the world, Your retreat is not regression, it's transformation. Hidden seasons often look like stillness, but what they produce is flight. What if tomorrow doesn't give you another chance? What if what's coming doesn't creep in, but crashes in with holy momentum? This isn't a trickle, it's a tidal wave. Are you ready for it? Your heart will recognize it, not through drama, noise, or confusion, but through stillness, through alignment. It will feel like that first full breath after years of shallow survival, like finally exhaling in a space where you no longer have to shrink to be safe. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not delay. Habakkuk 2:3. And yes, you are being watched, not just by those who love you, but by those who secretly hoped you'd never rise again. Their confusion is not your concern, their doubt is not your ceiling. They don't know the weight you carried in silence. They didn't see the nights you bled in prayer while still smiling by day. But God saw. Heaven recorded it all. The Lord is near to all who call on him, to all who call on him in truth. Psalm 145, verse 18. And what's coming to you next will explain it. They didn't see the nights you swallowed tears just to keep showing up with grace. They weren't there when your strength looked like silence, when your survival looked like a smile. They didn't hear the prayers that were so raw they came out as sobs. But God did. He was there every single time you collapsed behind closed doors, and while the world was silent, heaven was roaring for you louder than any crowd ever could. Have you ever wondered just how loudly angels cheer for unseen courage? Do you know what it means to be divinely witnessed in your darkest moments? Even when you felt invisible, heaven never looked away. While others misread your stillness as weakness, God marked it as reverence. While some mocked your delays, God was preparing your promotion. And now, it's your time. But here's the truth you must hold on to. Heaven's gifts are not passive. They're not handed out like participation trophies. They're claimed by faith, by boldness, by surrender. Are you ready to claim what's already been spoken over your life? You must believe it. You must receive it. You must stop second-guessing what God has already affirmed. The enemy doesn't fear your past. He fears the moment you realize your authority in Christ. Behold, I have given you authority over all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you. Luke 10:19. And here's something that might unsettle your spirit. Someone from your past is watching you. They've been tracking your journey, not because they support it, but because they underestimated it. They remember a version of you that no longer exists. One who broke easily, one who apologized too much, one who stayed quiet to stay accepted. But you've changed, and your evolution has exposed their limitation. They're coming back, but not because they changed, because you did. So here's your warning. Not every return is redemption. Not every "I'm sorry" is sincere. Not every "I miss you" is holy. Judas kissed Jesus before he betrayed him. A sweet word is not always a pure one. Can you discern the difference between repentance and manipulation, between conviction and convenience? Let me tell you about Selene, a choreographer in Montreal. Years ago, she helped build a dance academy with a partner who betrayed her, taking credit for their work and erasing her name. After years of healing and building her own movement, the same partner reached out to reconnect. But Celine didn't fall for the nostalgia. She said, "I don't return to rooms where I had to shrink to survive." That one choice led her to choreograph for a Broadway revival. What doors are trying to reopen in your life that God already closed with purpose? Even Malala Yousafzai, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate, once said, "We were scared, but our fear was not as strong as our courage." She stood up to a past that tried to silence her, because the new version of her refused to fit the mold her enemies had designed. What version of you have they been hoping you'd revert to? That's why God is preparing your ears before their words ever reach you. That's why you felt your spirit becoming sharper, more sensitive, more guarded. Not in bitterness, but in clarity. Because you won't be fooled. You won't be led back into places you bled to exit. You will know what is real. You will feel what is divine. And when they speak, your spirit will already know whether to stay, to walk, or to bless from a distance. Just like the owl that sees clearly in the dark while others sleep, you've been given spiritual night vision, not to fear the shadows, but to discern what others miss. And in this quiet clarity, you've become dangerous to deception. For God gives wisdom, knowledge, and joy to those who please Him. Ecclesiastes 2:26. And what's coming next, chosen one, will not just restore your name, it will reveal your authority. And soon you will walk away from what you once begged God to let you keep, not because it no longer matters, but because you are no longer the same. You've grown, you've awakened, and now you finally see that what He's giving you in exchange isn't just different, it's better, safer, stronger, holier. Can you believe that the very thing you fought to hold on to was the thing keeping you from elevation? He is not fixing what broke. He's replacing it with something that won't shatter under pressure, something that won't wound you when you're most vulnerable. That's why the shaking has come. That's why the places that once felt like home now feel like foreign soil. That's why comfort suddenly feels hollow. Have you outgrown the life that once felt just right? He's calling you out of survival and into destiny, out of cycles and into kingdom alignment. But will you stay awake? Will you recognize that the ache in your spirit isn't anxiety, it's divine movement? That restlessness is heaven's momentum pushing you forward. Let me tell you about Juno, a fashion designer from Copenhagen. For years, she built her brand on what was trending, what pleased buyers, what felt safe. Then one night, she had a dream of a collection that made no sense commercially, but felt like home to her soul. She obeyed. It sold out in a week. She said, "I didn't pivot for profit. I pivoted for purpose." What if your pivot is where the promise has been hiding all along? And remember Saul, the fierce persecutor of the early church. His conversion to Paul didn't come gradually. It came with a collision, a blinding light, a voice from heaven. Acts 9. Why? Because when destiny accelerates, it often interrupts everything. Could it be that your current confusion is actually divine transition? You are far more powerful than you think, and in exactly 45 minutes, the first domino falls. The ripple begins. A movement is set in motion. Will you be ready, or will you still be hiding under the weight of what no longer fits? Will you answer the knock, or pretend you didn't hear it? And He's not done speaking. That tug you feel, it's not fear, it's alignment. It's the unzipping of your next identity. You've been in the cocoon long enough. Do you feel the stretching? That urge to move without knowing where you'll land? That's not impulsive, it's appointed. Even C.S. Lewis, the Oxford scholar and author of The Chronicles of Narnia, once said, "There are far better things ahead than any we leave behind." What would you do if you actually believed that was true for you? Just like the glacier that appears frozen in time, but is quietly carving valleys beneath the surface, your transformation may seem slow, but it's shaping entire landscapes of destiny. What feels delayed is actually design. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Isaiah 43:18-19. And I will give you a new heart, and a new spirit I will put within you. Ezekiel 36:26. Stay with Him just a little longer. Don't race ahead, but don't fall back asleep. His timing is colliding with your next chapter. Right now, in this very second, someone is thinking about you, not as a coincidence, but as part of a written intersection, a soul connection. a divine appointment waiting to be revealed. Will you be found ready? There is someone right now whose spirit will recognize yours even if you never speak a word. But if your heart is still tangled in what broke you, you might miss that connection. So pause, breathe. Can you feel the noise of the world beginning to hush? Can you hear his voice becoming the loudest in your soul? This is not just another quiet moment. This is a divine threshold, a sacred crossing. You've spent years in the land of almosts, almost loved, almost seen, almost chosen. Have you noticed how long you've tolerated places that diminished you? How many roles you've stepped into that were never designed to carry your full weight? But that ends now. From this moment forward, God is asking you to choose yourself the way He has always chosen you, boldly, daily, and without hesitation. Will you continue shrinking to be digestible, or will you rise to the shape of your true self? Do you realize what you've survived? You've walked through storms that were engineered to drown you. You've endured betrayals that were intended to break your bones. You've carried grief that would have silenced others. Yet, you're still here, not just standing, but rising. Your voice still carries weight in rooms where others lost theirs because your spirit has been refined through fire. You're about to reap from the very fields you watered with tears. The soil remembers, God remembers, and the heavens have begun to shake. But stop skipping the messages. Stop telling yourself they're for someone else. They are for you. You are not next. You are now. There is a holy fire buried deep inside your soul, and it's about to rise. A gift you thought was long gone, a truth you've barely dared to believe. It's stirring. They told you that you were too emotional, too quiet, too intense, too strange. But God says, you are exactly how I made you. Every part of you is intentional, even the parts you tried to bury, even the wounds you still carry. Not one of them disqualifies you. In fact, they're the very cracks where my glory shines through. Think of Gideon. In Judges 6, he saw himself as the weakest in his tribe, but God called him mighty warrior. Why? Because heaven never defines you by how you see yourself. It defines you by what's inside you. Let me tell you about Elias, a soft-spoken software engineer who once stayed in the background, always feeling like his voice was too much or too weird. One day, his quiet invention helped rebuild the entire user experience of a global app. His breakthrough came the moment he stopped diluting his brilliance to be more normal. What are you still muting that heaven wants to magnify? Even Viola Davis, the Oscar-winning actress, once said, "You can either leave something for people, or you can leave something in people." She chose to rise from poverty, rejection, and abuse to become a vessel of truth. What could you leave behind if you embraced the very things they told you to suppress? You are not too much. You are not too broken. You are not too late. You are not too strange. You are God's design, on purpose, with purpose. And right now, heaven is making room for the miraculous to move through every piece of your story. Just like a desert cactus that blooms only after surviving long droughts, you are about to reveal beauty that was always there, but hidden beneath endurance. The bloom doesn't apologize for what it withstood. It simply opens. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. Psalm 139, verse 14. Your realness is not a flaw, chosen one. It is your anointing. It's the reason doors that were once sealed tight are creaking open now. Do you know how rare it is to remain sincere in a world addicted to performance? Your honesty is a mirror that makes the mask feel exposed. That's why you've been misunderstood. But now heaven is flipping the narrative. You asked God to move, but now He turns to you and asks, "Are you ready?" Because when He moves, it's not gradual, it's divine velocity. Are you willing to let go of the familiar, even when it comforts your scars? Are you ready to walk forward, even when your heart still remembers what shattered it? Can you trust a future you can't yet see, over a past you can't seem to forget. But God knows. He saw what they did in the dark. He counted the tears you never dared to explain. He felt the silence that cocooned your prayers and the ache that made you question if you were even heard. And through it all, He never left. Even when you couldn't feel Him, He was closer than your next breath, orchestrating divine setups behind the veil. Psalm 34:18 reminds us, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." This is more than a new chapter. It's a full circle return. You're not going back to stay. You're going back to stand. The very spaces where your voice was once muted will now echo with your authority. Why? Because you've been refined in silence, shaped by surrender, and crowned by fire. Can you sense the shift? Let me tell you about Imani, a soft-spoken counselor who once left a toxic workplace because her kindness was mistaken for weakness. Years later, she returned, not to reclaim approval, but to lead a training for emotional intelligence in the very room they dismissed her. Her voice now trembles with power, not fear. Could it be that your rejection was a redirection meant to prepare you for the day of return? Remember Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years imprisoned before walking out to lead the very nation that silenced him. He once said, "I am not a saint unless you think of a saint as a sinner who keeps on trying." What if your past pain was the forge that crafted your future strength? Even creation echoes this truth. Think of the volcano. Its pressure builds in silence, unseen beneath the surface. Then suddenly it erupts, not to destroy, but to reshape the landscape. Are you not also about to erupt? Not in chaos, but in glory. The people who once dismissed you will now be forced to see the radiance you carry. They won't recognize it because it's not coming from success. They'll recognize it because it carries the unmistakable presence of the one who walked with you through the fire. The oil on your life isn't from ease, it's from pressing. And soon, so very soon, you will meet the version of yourself that nearly gave up, the version that whispered prayers into the dark, afraid they'd disappear into the void. But instead, those prayers became roots. And now look at what's growing. So take a deep breath. Feel that weight lifting? It's the burden you no longer need to carry. You are not walking back to prove anything. You are walking back as a vessel of truth. And this time, you don't need to be noticed. Your light will testify for you. This is not the moment to scroll past. This is not just another uplifting message on your feed. This is a holy intersection, an appointed collision between heaven's movement and your obedience. Do you sense it? The stillness before something sacred breaks forth. The weight in your chest that isn't fear, but divine anticipation. Heaven is not only watching, heaven is moving. And right now, the Spirit is placing a sealed gift into your hands and whispering, "Take it. Take your restoration. Take your clarity. Take your peace. Take what was always meant for you." Will you receive it, or will you rationalize your way out of the miracle? Let me ask you, chosen one, how many times have you talked yourself out of God's best because it came wrapped in inconvenience? How often have you dismissed divine invitations because they arrived looking too ordinary? Could it be that the very thing you're ignoring is the door you've been praying for? What if the message that just interrupted your scroll is the burning bush you didn't recognize? What if this is the moment your yes becomes the turning point, not just for you, but for generations after you? Right now, angels are not only near, they are stationed by divine command, hovering around you with anticipation, waiting for one simple word from your lips. Yes, yes to purpose. Yes to healing. Yes to surrender. Say it now. Yes, God. I'm ready. Because the second you truly say it, not with doubt, not with delay, but with total agreement, something eternal shifts. And that shift won't look dramatic. It might appear in a delayed email, a cancelled meeting, a stranger's comment, a quiet moment where the wind stills and your spirit suddenly exhales. That's how God works. He hides holy turning points inside humble containers. Miracles are often disguised as mundane. Take Viola Davis, the award-winning actress who once said, "I have a strong sense of every part of me being intentional, even the pain." When she received her Oscar, she didn't just thank opportunity. She thanked the silence, the struggle, the weight. It's not the spotlight that shapes a soul. It's the years no one clapped, just like you. And what about Isaiah, a former foster youth who worked night shifts cleaning hotel lobbies? One night, he felt an unexplainable urge to stay late. That decision led to him meeting a guest who turned out to be a non-profit founder. Today, Isaiah runs a youth mentorship program serving thousands. He says, "That night didn't feel holy. I just felt tired. But sometimes God hides mountains inside mustard seeds." Could your tired moment be a disguised appointment? This is why you must stay present, expectant, and tethered to the voice of the Holy Spirit. The delay wasn't punishment, it was protection. You weren't being denied, you were being aligned. Not because you weren't ready, but because the terrain around you was not yet safe for the gift you carry. But now the atmosphere has shifted. The winds have changed. The alignment is complete. What heaven is releasing bears your name, just like the pearl that forms only after years of pressure inside a wounded shell. Your calling has been forming quietly in secret pain. And now, at last, it's ready to surface. And now, the gates are open. This moment does not beg for fear. It demands readiness, obedience. It's a call to rise into the blueprint God sketched before you ever took your first breath. Do you feel that fire in your chest? That's not adrenaline. That's your spirit remembering what it was created to become. As it is written, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Ephesians 2:10. So, will you say yes? Will you let the fear of the unknown keep you tethered, or will you rise with trembling hands and holy expectation? This isn't just your moment, it's your mandate. You are not here by accident. You are not reading this by coincidence. This is a divine appointment, a sacred collision between your current faith and the future God has already built for you. And right now, the countdown in heaven is not ticking with fear, but with fire. What if the whisper you feel in your spirit is about to become a thunder that shifts everything around you? Have you considered that this message didn't just find you, it was sent for you? What if this very moment is the threshold between almost and finally? Every closed door wasn't rejection, it was redirection toward this divine encounter. In less than 45 minutes, something will begin. It will not shout, it will not arrive with confetti, but it will change your atmosphere. This is the moment to stop surviving and step into the sacred. It's time to surrender your timeline for God's orchestration and believe again, even after the weight of disappointment. This moment will not simply pass by, it will be written into your story forever. The shift you're feeling is not anxiety, it's activation. And what comes next is not just another chapter, it's the culmination of every divine thread God has been weaving together for years. The heartbreaks you endured, the quiet nights spent whispering, "Why God?" the heavy mornings when you barely made it through, none of it was wasted. Not a single tear escaped his notice. Not a single prayer disappeared into the void. Psalm 56:8 says, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book." So what if your pain was actually a map? What if your tears were coordinates guiding you here, to this exact place, this exact second? Let me tell you about Stephen Colbert, the comedian who carries a deep wound. Losing his father and two brothers in a plane crash when he was just 10 years old. For years, his faith was shaped not by comedy, but by grief. And yet, he once said, "What punishments of God are not gifts?" Because through that pain, a deeper spiritual clarity was born. His smile may be public, but his faith is private, forged in fire, just like yours. And then there's Leah, a middle school teacher who was passed over for a promotion she prayed so hard for. Devastated, she considered leaving education altogether. But weeks later, she was offered a position at a new school in a low-income neighborhood. There, she met a student who couldn't read, whose life would change because Leah stayed. She now says, "That job I didn't get was God's way of sending me to the one I was born to do." The job that slipped through your fingers, the person who left without warning, the opportunity that dissolved without explanation, they were not losses. They were sacred pruning. God wasn't subtracting from your life. He was making space. Just like a vineyard must be trimmed before it overflows with fruit, your life was being prepared to carry glory. Just like a dormant volcano that appears still for decades, yet builds pressure deep underground, your life has been gathering force in silence. And when the release comes, it won't be chaos. It will be divine eruption. And now, chosen one, you stand on sacred ground. The hush before the breakthrough, the stillness that always comes before heaven moves. This is your just before. Honor it. Recognize that something divine is about to be born. Tonight, something will begin. Not random, not forced, not man-made. It will arrive precisely because it has been prepared by heaven, and it is looking for your agreement. Will you give it? You will know it's from God, not by how loud it is, but by how quiet your soul becomes when it arrives. Not fear, not pressure, not confusion, but peace. Deep, soul-level peace. Colossians 3:15 reminds us, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts." So ask yourself, when was the last time you truly let peace lead instead of urgency? Have you confused adrenaline with divine alignment? Has anxiety ever masqueraded as purpose in your life? Because what's of God will not push you into panic. It will not rush you into compromise. It will not make you feel like you're drowning while chasing something holy. His Spirit does not bring chaos. He brings confirmation, a holy stillness, a supernatural knowing, a whisper that calms every storm. As you draw closer to this divine shift, heaven is asking for one sacred vow, that you will never shrink again, that you will no longer dim your light to fit into spaces your spirit has already outgrown. Can you promise that? Can you honor the version of yourself who prayed to be seen by refusing to be small now? Can you let go of people who only loved the watered-down version of you? You were never a second option. You are chosen, called, consecrated, and set apart. Do you believe that? Even the parts of you once thought disqualified you, your grief, your silence, your setbacks, they are being woven into a testimony that will liberate others. Let me tell you about Shia LaBeouf, the actor who wrestled with identity, addiction, and rejection. He once hit rock bottom in public view, but behind the scenes he was quietly searching for meaning. In 2022, while filming a movie about Padre Pio, he encountered the peace of Christ for the first time. His faith journey didn't come with applause, it came with surrender. Shia said, "God was using my ego to draw me to him. It was never about me." And consider Mara, a nurse who lost her fiancé in a tragic accident. For years, she wore grief like a second skin. She gave compassion to every patient, but left none for herself. One night, while working the ER night shift, a stranger handed her a handwritten note that simply said, "You are seen, you are carried." It was signed anonymously. That note broke something open in her spirit. She said it was the first time in 3 years that she felt peace instead of survival. What if your pain is about to become someone else's freedom? What if the love you gave in silence is now echoing back through eternity as divine favor? The time of hiding is over. Heaven isn't calling you to endure anymore. It's calling you to impact. Are you ready to speak, not for validation, but because your voice now carries authority? Are you ready to walk into spaces, not seeking to fit in, but knowing you were sent? From now on, when you enter a room, something will shift. Not because of your perfection, but because of your presence. Because you carry the presence of the one who sent you. Your life will now speak without explanation. Your stillness will command more than noise ever could. So I ask you again, will you shrink or will you rise? There will come a moment, sooner than you think, when your footsteps will echo once more through halls that once went silent at your presence. You will pass through doors that once closed too quickly behind you, re-enter rooms that once pretended you were invisible, and meet eyes that used to gloss over you as if you were just another shadow in the background. But this time they will pause, they will watch, and they will not be able to deny the visible, undeniable transformation that has taken place in your life. They won't know all the nights you cried behind closed doors or the battles you fought without applause, but they will witness the evidence. Because the power of what God planted in you was never dormant, it was simply developing. Have you ever wondered why some places seemed allergic to your presence? Why certain doors slammed in your face, no matter how gently you knocked? Could it be that God was protecting the seed before it sprouted? Just as an oak tree grows unseen beneath layers of earth, your calling was covered, not because it lacked value, but because it held too much glory to be exposed too soon. Remember how David was overlooked by his own father when the prophet came to anoint a king. 1 Samuel 16:10-13. Yet God didn't forget. He was reserving the oil for the one whose time had not yet come, but would. I once met Elias, a retired professor who had applied to over 30 schools in his youth, but was rejected by all of them. For years, he worked in a mechanic shop, hidden in grease and dust. But one day, a former classmate stumbled upon a paper he'd written in private and submitted it to a conference. That essay became the foundation for a global education reform. Elias told me, "They didn't reject me. They rejected the version of me that wasn't ready yet." What if that was true for you too? Chosen one, the glory of the Lord over your life was never hidden. It was waiting for alignment. And now his hand is rising over you like the morning sun over a misty valley, gentle yet unstoppable. His restoration isn't coming with fireworks. It's arriving with authority. That love you thought was gone forever, the one you used to pray for then stopped believing in, it's not lost. It's approaching with a cadence only heaven understands. Have you ever noticed how spring never apologizes to winter? It just arrives. That's how divine timing works. God's love doesn't barge in. It doesn't crash into desperation. It waits, it flows. It aligns with the rhythm of a healed heart. What is holy cannot be rushed. You've heard that before, but have you lived it? Because for what God has destined to land in your life now, your heart must be cleared of the rubble, cleansed of the clinging grief, freed from the weight of those who abandoned you, misunderstood you, manipulated your kindness. Let me tell you about Tyler Perry, a renowned filmmaker, playwright, and actor whose empire was built after years of homelessness and rejection. In an interview, he once said, "I had to learn to be okay with being misunderstood, because what God was doing in me didn't need to be explained to everyone." Before he built his own studio, he wrote scripts while sleeping in his car. He wasn't waiting for validation, he was waiting for divine timing. That is your call, now. To release the echoes of those who reduced you, to untangle your worth from their blindness, because they were never equipped to carry your calling. Think of a storm clearing the forest. What seems like devastation is often divine reset. Let go of what the storm took. Lay it all at the feet of the one who saw every fracture and still called you chosen. You were never disqualified. You were protected. And now that ancient promise whispers again, not in condemnation, but in invitation. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Isaiah 43:18-19. Can you feel it? Can you feel the stirring of the new? Someone is being prepared for you, not as a rescuer, not as a repairman for your wounds, but as a partner in purpose. Someone who will see your scars as sacred, not shameful. Someone who will look into your soul and not flinch, because they've seen the reflection of heaven within it. They're coming, not to carry your cross, but to walk beside you as you both follow the one who already conquered death. There is someone being drawn to your orbit, not by accident, not by emotion, but by assignment. Someone whose soul will not be blinded by the smudges of your past, nor intimidated by the brightness of your spirit. They will not flinch at your intensity or question your resilience. They will see you clearly, not as the world saw you, but as God formed you. They will recognize the divine fingerprint etched upon your existence and speak with reverence, I see you. And when they arrive, it won't feel like resistance. It won't feel like striving. It will feel like stillness, like peace, like home. But before they can walk beside you, God is calling you to walk toward yourself. Can you stand in front of your own mirror without looking away? Can you see the fire in your eyes and say, boldly, sincerely, even through the trembling, I am forgiven, I am free, I am not too late? How long have you carried the false weight of being out of season, of thinking you missed your moment? Could it be that you were not late but being prepared for an appointed time? Let me tell you about Rick Warren, pastor and best-selling author of The Purpose-Driven Life. Before his message ever reached millions, he battled seasons of doubt and obscurity. He once said, "You were made by God and for God, and until you understand that, life will never make sense." That same truth is echoing in your life now. You are not too broken. You are not too flawed. You are right on time for a miracle. The molding has made you ready. And no, your sensitivity is not a defect. Your passion is not excessive. Your discernment is not delusion. These are not mistakes in your wiring. They are evidence of divine intentionality. Like volcanic soil, it is precisely the pressure and heat that made your inner ground fertile. The way you burn for truth, the way you ache for more. These are not weaknesses. They are sacred indicators of heaven's blueprint on your life. Remember the words from Jeremiah 31:3, I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have drawn you with unfailing kindness. This is not temporary affection. This is eternal pursuit. The same love that shaped galaxies has been calling your name since the beginning. And yet, too often, you've dimmed that light. Have you ever caught yourself shrinking to make others more comfortable in their insecurity? Have you silenced your boldness to preserve someone else's ego? Chosen one, that season is over. Stop explaining your assignment to those who were never given access to your blueprints. Even Jesus warned us in Matthew 7:6, do not give what is holy to dogs, and do not throw your pearls before swine. You were never created to beg for recognition. You were always meant to be revealed by heaven's hand in heaven's timing. I once knew a woman named Zahra, a sculptor who hid her art for years in a locked attic because she feared judgment. One day, a museum curator found one of her old sketches in a thrift store frame. That discovery led to an entire exhibit named Unearthed Glory. When I asked Zahra why she never showcased her gift before, she said, I was waiting for someone to see it with the eyes I prayed for. That's the kind of alignment God is orchestrating now, for someone to see you not with filters, but with faith. Just like a lighthouse that stands through years of violent storms without ever searching for approval, Your presence was built to shine no matter who notices. Its glow is not for applause, it's for alignment. And the one it's meant to guide, they're already on the way. And now, as the atmosphere shifts, the Spirit extends one final invitation. When this message ends, let your response not be mental, but spiritual. Close your eyes. Speak it aloud, not with performance, but with surrender. God, I'm ready. I'm not skipping this. I open my heart, my life, and my path to what you have already prepared. I trust you now, fully. And when you say it from your depths, a holy chain reaction begins. Something ancient, yet immediate, will move in your favor. This is not mere emotion. This is spiritual activation. The angels assigned to your calling are not waiting. They are already dispatched. The doors you used to dream of aren't locked anymore. They are creaking open as you speak. And the one who was designed to walk with you, they're not lost. They're listening. Their spirit is already sensing the gravitational pull of heaven, drawing them toward your presence. So don't walk away now. Don't retreat into doubt. Don't rehearse your reasons to stay small. You were never meant to miss this moment. You were born to meet it. This isn't just another message wrapped in hope. This isn't motivational fluff. This is divine disruption, a holy interception, a personal conversation between the Creator of time and the child He formed in eternity. If you've stayed this long, if your heart hasn't wandered, if your spirit kept leaning forward, then recognize this moment was never random. It was never general. It was God meeting you at the exact intersection of your surrender. What if this wasn't just something to hear, but something meant to mark you? What if every word was heaven's fingerprint pressing into your identity? This wasn't to make you feel better. This was to awaken what's already been written in the scrolls about you. You are not just ready. You are not just hopeful. You are chosen. Chosen for breakthrough. Chosen for alignment. Chosen for sacred union. Chosen to carry heaven's light through the shadows of this world. Not because you performed flawlessly, not because you prayed the perfect words, but because God is love, and love chooses before merit is measured. Ephesians 1:4 says, He chose us in Him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and blameless before Him in love. That's not poetic, it's prophetic. You were seen, known, and selected long before your struggle ever began. Lamentations 3:22-23 reminds you, because of the Lord's great love we are not consumed, for His compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Did you hear that? Every single morning, regardless of how yesterday looked, mercy shows up again. I think of John Newton, the former slave trader who penned the hymn Amazing Grace. Before he was a preacher, before his name was sung across generations, he was drowning, literally and spiritually, but God met him in the storm. He later wrote, I am a great sinner, but Christ is a great Savior. That's your truth too. You've made mistakes, but grace outruns them. Always. The clock is ticking, not in anxiety but in holy rhythm. The divine current is moving, and you, chosen one, are about to witness the reason for every delay, every detour, every door that didn't open. What's coming won't just replace what you lost, it will redeem it. What you almost settled for will look like crumbs compared to the feast God is setting before you. Can you imagine love so whole that it makes your past longings feel incomplete? This right now is your moment. Through every exhausted breath you've released in silence, through every brave smile you've worn while your heart trembled underneath, through every whispered hope you dared to breathe when no one was watching, God was closer. Closer than the pain that lingered in your body, closer than the doubts that curled in your chest, closer than the tears that never made it out. He doesn't know the version of you that the world demands. He knows the one behind the mask, the you who cheers others on while secretly wondering who's cheering for you, The you who shows up for people who wouldn't even text back if you disappeared. The you who lifts weights off others' shoulders while quietly buckling under your own. And heaven hasn't looked away. Let me tell you about Sarah, a nurse in her 50s who spent 2 decades pouring herself into patients, neighbors, family. She once said to me, "I give and give because I don't know how not to, but sometimes I wish someone would see me." One day, after a long shift, a stranger walked up to her, looked her in the eye, and simply said, "You're the reason someone made it through today." And she broke, not in weakness, but in relief. For the first time, she felt held. You too have been holding everyone else. And God sees how you're tired of being strong, how sometimes all you want is to be held without needing to justify your fatigue, without needing to explain the pressure, without needing to earn the right to cry. Psalm 34:18 says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Can you feel it now? The tenderness of heaven brushing against your ache. God is whispering into the deepest places of your soul, you deserve love too. Not just the kind you give, not just the kind that thrives when you're smiling, but the kind that sees you breaking and stays. The kind that doesn't run when you set a boundary. The kind that doesn't shrink when you say no. The kind that loves you even when you're too exhausted to perform. The kind that stands beside you, not for what you do, but because of who you are. Just like the mangrove tree that thrives in salt water where others cannot survive, your resilience was forged not in ideal conditions, but in the tension between pressure and promise. You didn't bloom despite hardship. You bloomed because of it. And yes, that love is coming. Not as a reward, but as restoration. Not as a transaction, but as truth. And it won't knock loudly. It will flow quietly. But when it arrives, you'll know. Not by the sound, but by the peace. You won't have to strive to make this one stay. You won't have to bend yourself into someone else's idea of lovable. You won't have to prove your worth through pain or buy affection with your own blood. What's coming isn't earned. It's sent, because you're finally aligned with the one who doesn't deal in desperation, but in design. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights. James 1:17. So, if it's arriving now, it's not because you chased it, it's because you became ready for it. But let's pause here. Have you really left behind the version of you that only knew how to survive? Or is part of you still apologizing for being too much, too sensitive, too inconvenient for the comfort of others? Could it be that you've been praying for abundance while still dressing yourself in the mindset of lack? The version of you that is rising, the bold, healed, spirit-awakened version, is finally drawing in what the wounded you once begged for. But to receive what is destined, you must let go of who you were in survival. That version served a purpose, yes, but it cannot steward what's next. Can you release the self that tolerated casual disrespect just to feel included? Can you drop the version that silenced your truth for the illusion of peace? That twisted itself into smallness just to stay loved. I think of Brené Brown, a research professor and best-selling author known for her work on vulnerability and shame. She once said, "You either walk inside your story and own it, or you stand outside your story and hustle for your worthiness." That's the line heaven is drawing now. Stop hustling. Start standing. Chosen one, you are not who you used to be. You are not defined by the silence you once swallowed. You are rising now. And with every rise, something will fall away. Do you feel it? The tension when certain people pull back, not because you did anything wrong, but because your growth threatens the comfort of their stagnation. Some mourn only the version of you that made their ego feel big. They grieve the version that made room for their inconsistency. But don't mourn that loss. The Lord is not subtracting from your life, He's replacing, and whatever you release in faith, He will return in fullness. Jesus said in Matthew 16:25, "Whoever loses their life for my sake will find it." This is not about death, it's about divine identity. You're not standing at the edge of love anymore. You're not hoping to be picked like a child waiting on the curb. You've already been chosen by the same God who formed you in fire and breathed into you the breath of heaven. Let me tell you about Joaquin, a potter who spent 10 years perfecting the same ceramic bowl. His students once asked, "Why not finish it sooner?" He said, "I wasn't waiting for the bowl. I was waiting to become the hands, steady enough to hold its shape." That's what's happening in your life. You're becoming the version of yourself that can hold what you once dropped. Think of the metamorphic rock, formed not overnight, but by years of pressure, heat, and time beneath the surface of the earth. What was once ordinary sediment becomes marble, capable of reflecting light with divine clarity. That is you now, not broken, refined. You no longer walk into rooms asking, "Will they accept me?" because you've already answered the question that matters most. Do I see myself the way God sees me? And finally, the answer is yes. You walk with clarity now. Not arrogance, but holy confidence. Not fear, but fire. The kind of light that no longer needs a spotlight to feel seen. This is who heaven had in mind all along. The version of you that doesn't flinch when others forget your value. The version who doesn't collapse when others walk away. The version who knows how to bless and release. And now that you've reached this place, God will not let you retreat. You've tasted your own worth, and you cannot unknow it. You've stepped into overflow, and you cannot go back to drought. Heaven is backing you now. You are no longer shrinking to be accepted. You are expanding to be aligned. The pull to go back will come. You'll feel it quietly in moments when you're tired. You'll hear the whisper of old voices trying to dress you in your former fear. You'll recognize their language. Are you sure you've changed? What if it all falls apart again? Maybe you were safer before, but here's the truth. Truth doesn't retreat, and what lives in you now cannot be silenced by echoes. Truth cannot be unlearned, and once you've tasted the divine, once you've touched wholeness, you can't make peace with fragments anymore. You've been made in the image of the Eternal One. Can you even begin to grasp the weight of that? Formed in His likeness, covered by His protection, empowered by His Spirit. And your next chapter, it won't just be a step forward. It will be a divine eruption, a cascade of appointments you didn't arrange, blessings you didn't audition for, and favor that doesn't make earthly sense. Can you hold space in your heart for that kind of overflow? As Ephesians 3:20 declares, "Now to Him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine." That's not poetry, that's a promise. The kind of promise that rewrites generational stories. And don't forget Romans 8:28. "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Even your detours are being redirected by design. Let's talk about Immaculée Ilibagiza, a Rwandan genocide survivor and renowned speaker on forgiveness and faith. She spent 91 days hiding silently in a 3-by-4-foot bathroom with 7 other women, listening to people scream her name outside, trying to kill her. She later said, "Forgiveness is all I have to offer, and God gave me the strength to offer it." Today, she travels the world sharing her message of radical grace. What tried to kill her became her divine message. What about you? Could your greatest darkness become the reason someone else finds light? And yes, someone who once dismissed you, someone who called your passion too much, your honesty too intense, they will witness your rising. But this isn't vengeance. This is vindication through grace. Your restoration will not gloat. It will glorify. When they see you now, it won't be about proving them wrong. It'll be about proving that God was right when He never gave up on you. Let go of bitterness. Don't tether yourself to their absence. Don't waste your shine trying to convince someone who was never equipped to carry your light. God is not just removing, He is refining. And refinement prepares you for a love that won't require shrinking. He's preparing someone who won't just handle your light, but will be drawn to it like a lighthouse in a storm. You're not behind. You're not off course. You're not late. You're being shaped for something that cannot be microwaved. Something that takes deep roots, like the mangrove tree that grows slowly in coastal tides. Anchored deeply to withstand storms, nourished even by salt. Its roots tangle not in weakness, but in divine wisdom. So too is your strength being formed where no one sees. Wisdom, depth, discernment, these are fruits of slow fire, not fast fame. Do you trust the process even when you can't trace the progress? Let me tell you about Amara, a midwife who walked away from her medical career after a nervous breakdown. For 3 years, she worked quietly in a greenhouse tending plants, talking only to soil and sunlight. Today, she's one of the most trusted birthing specialists in her region, known not just for technique, but for her unmatched peace. When asked why she left medicine to return stronger, she simply said, "God hid me until I could hold life again without shaking." That's what's happening to you. So wait, trust, and remember, God never loved you for who you might become. He loved you as you were, when you doubted Him, when you distanced yourself, when your silence felt louder than your praise. He stayed. Not because you got it right, but because He's incapable of letting go of what He made with His own hands. As Psalm 138:8 assures you, "The Lord will perfect that which concerns me. Your mercy, O Lord, endures forever." God finishes what He starts, even when it feels like the middle has fallen apart. Now take a breath. Place your hand over your chest. Feel that rhythm. That's proof of your purpose still pulsing. Say it aloud, not for performance, but for possession. God, I receive it. The love, the peace, the clarity, the shift, the sudden change. I receive it all, and I trust you with my story. You are not alone. You never were. Even in the final seconds before the miracle touches earth, God is walking beside you, not as an idea, but as a presence. You will heal. You will trust again. You will love deeper and rise higher. And when you look back on this moment, you'll say, that's when everything shifted. Because it is, right now. Not the end, not even the climax, but the sacred beginning of everything God has prepared for those who dared to keep walking. And what's ahead? It will not simply feel like restoration. It will feel like prophetic reversal. Every word meant to wound you will now bless you. Every delay will be repurposed to accelerate your breakthrough. Every part of your story that was once fractured will not merely be patched. It will be reborn under the sovereign hand of the Almighty. I will repay you for the years the locusts have eaten. Joel 2:25. Not might, not if you behave perfectly. God said, I will. That's a covenant, not a consolation. And it's not poetic metaphor, it's prophetic fulfillment. The devouring that stole your time, the betrayal that rewrote your calendar, the shame that delayed your momentum, none of it was the final word. Now the tides are turning. This is not a repetition of old pain. This is not a recycling of old cycles. You are not going to attract what once drained you. You are not going to live as a stranger to your own calling. You will no longer sit quietly while people mistake your power for passivity. The atmosphere has shifted. The patterns have broken. You're no longer orbiting pain. You're moving into purpose. Have you noticed how your spirit no longer tolerates what used to pacify it? That's not discomfort. It's discernment being restored. One day you will wake up and it will be subtle. No thunder, no lightning, no fireworks, just peace. A quiet soul, a steady heart, a weight you forgot you were carrying, gone. And in that stillness, you will remember this moment, this whisper of surrender, that day you finally said, "Okay, Lord, I trust you now. That trembling whispered yes. It caused a heavenly ripple. You may not have seen it, but it shifted something eternal. Because when you align with the voice of God, even in a whisper, you release what fear delayed, what doubt distorted, what shame buried. That agreement didn't just echo through your heart, it echoed through heaven. You set something in motion. Now the waiting season bows to the walking season. Not walking in endless loops, but walking with direction, with boldness, with prophecy under your feet. Can you feel the difference in your stride now? Can you tell that you're not walking aimlessly, but with the wind of heaven behind you? And even if you can't feel it yet, there is new strength surrounding you, invisible but active, tangible though not yet fully seen. Prayers you haven't dared to voice are already rising before the throne. Doors you haven't touched are being opened from the inside, and people you've never even met are being stirred by heaven to bless you. Let me tell you about Lena, a single mother who worked 2 jobs while finishing night school. For years, her only goal was survival. Just one more shift, one more bill paid. But one day, a stranger in a bookstore overheard her speaking gently to her child and offered her a job at a publishing house. Turns out that stranger had been praying for someone just like her. She later said, "I thought God had forgotten me. Turns out he was just preparing a table I didn't even know existed." What about you? Could your quiet faith be setting up a miracle behind closed doors? Let me ask you this. How many times have you disqualified yourself from favor because of fatigue? How often have you assumed you're not ready simply because you're not loud? And when will you stop measuring your worth by what others failed to recognize in you? Let me also tell you about Bear Grylls, the adventurer, survivalist, and TV host. Few know that after a near-fatal parachuting accident, he spent months in recovery, doubting if he'd ever return to the wilderness. In his memoir, he wrote, "Faith doesn't mean you feel fearless. It means you do it scared." His comeback wasn't luck, it was obedience. That's what you're walking into, not random favor, but divine orchestration. So when the world says it's coincidence, you'll know it's covenant. When they say it's good timing, you'll know it's God's timeline. And when doubt creeps in and whispers, "Could this really happen for someone like you?" your soul will rise and declare, "Yes, it can. Yes, it is." Because the Lord promised, no word from God will ever fail. Luke 1:37. You no longer need to chase what has already been written with your name on it. You don't have to audition for what was authored in eternity. You only have to stay close. Stay close when the world gets loud. Stay close when the enemy gets clever. Stay close when the mirror tries to lie to you. Stay close to the voice that never changes. Like the sunflower, you must now learn to turn your face fully toward the light, even if your past was filled with shadows. Even if the ground you grew from was barren, you're still becoming a field of golden evidence. Or like the Arctic fox, whose fur changes color with the seasons, pure white in winter, muted brown in summer, you too have adapted, endured, survived. But now you are not merely surviving, you are embodying the shift. And that shift is sacred. You are not entering this next chapter alone. You have endured nights without applause, breakthroughs without witnesses, and prayers without response. You've grieved in private, matured in silence, and walked through wilderness without maps. And yet, you did not disappear, you transformed. And now, the Lord is not just calling you forward, He is lifting you higher. This is no longer a moment, it's a movement. Your life is becoming evidence that faith still moves mountains, that healing still rewrites legacies, that miracles still wear human names. You are that proof. So when it begins, when favor finds you, when restoration floods in, don't back away, don't shrink, don't sabotage it. This is the version of you that doesn't apologize for shining, that doesn't ask for permission to exist, that doesn't dim to keep others comfortable. This is the you that carries the promises with confidence, the one that knows they weren't just spoken, they were meant to be fulfilled. The world has not yet witnessed the full extent of what heaven is preparing to release through your life. What if your greatest impact is still ahead of you? What if everything that has tried to silence you was really just setting the stage for a sacred unveiling? So now, as this chapter turns, don't prepare with anxiety. Prepare with expectation. Don't look back with regret. Stand in reverence. And don't lean into fear. Walk forward with holy faith. Because this time, you will not miss it. You will not talk yourself out of it. You will not hesitate your way into forfeiting what God has saved for you. You're not going to shrink. You're not going to let insecurity become your ceiling. Why? Because you're not the same person who used to second-guess their anointing. You are standing here now, in this sacred divine intersection, exactly on time for a miracle that was tailor-made, name-assigned, heaven-scheduled for you. Lift your head, take the next step, and when you look in the mirror, smile, not because everything is fixed, but because now you trust the one who is leading you through the fire. The God who stood by you in silence is now walking with you in strength. Let me tell you about Corrie ten Boom, a Dutch watchmaker who, with her family, hid Jews from the Nazis during World War II. She was arrested, survived a concentration camp, and later forgave her captors. She once said, "There is no pit so deep that God is not deeper still." That's the kind of redemption story your life is becoming. Not a pile of ruins, but a radiant testimony built from pieces the enemy thought would break you. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5:14. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. This is not the hour to dim down or explain yourself into silence. Don't apologize for being lit by heaven. Don't retreat to keep others comfortable. Step into the light with sacred boldness. You were made for this, chosen for this, formed for this very hour. Not by accident, not by coincidence, right on time for the promise that heaven never intended for anyone else but you. Yes, the Lord delights in you, not just tolerates, not just loves from obligation. He delights in you, and He's not letting go. You've grown more than you realize, and now there is one final outpouring before this word is sealed into your soul. What's coming isn't just a blessing, it's a rebirth. You are not just about to receive something. You are about to become someone you've never been before, a clearer mirror of the one who made you, a stronger vessel for the Spirit who fills you, a carrier of a peace that cannot be shaken by headlines, critics, or storms. Why do you think the battle grew more violent this year? Why did the enemy intensify the pressure, confuse your steps, cloud your mind, weigh down your heart? Because he wasn't reacting to your past. He was panicking over your future. He sensed the shift before you did. He saw you beginning to awaken. He saw you praying again, even when you were still unsure. He saw your hands trembling but still lifted. He saw your heart, still bruised, start to open again. And that's when he tried to flood your world with distractions, lies, division, delays. Why? Not because you were weak, but because you were becoming dangerous to darkness. Let me tell you about Grace, a single mother of 4 who once told me she nearly gave up on faith after losing everything in a house fire. But in the silence that followed, she began writing nightly prayers to God, not for restoration, but for resilience. Today, those journaled prayers have become a published devotional series that has helped thousands. When asked how she found the strength, she said, "The enemy came too late. I had already said yes to God, even if it was in ashes." And so did you. That trembling, unsteady yes, heaven heard it, and that yes didn't just change your outlook, it activated something eternal. You crossed the threshold. You can't unwalk what you've now entered. The old limitations no longer apply. What you're stepping into is not just progress, it's prophetic reversal. Every delay will become acceleration. Every moment you cried alone will become proof that even the wilderness can become sacred ground. Every lie the enemy told you is being overturned by the truth of your identity. You were never overlooked. You were hidden. You were never forgotten. You were reserved. You were never disqualified. You were being refined. And now, this is the divine turning point. Not because the world said you earned it, but because your Father says you were always loved. On your worst day, in your lowest hour, in your quietest plea, He never left. And now, He is revealing what the darkness tried to bury. You are the evidence that healing is real, that favor is unstoppable, that miracles still move. And just like the caterpillar encased in stillness before wings, you too have been wrapped in waiting, not as punishment, but as preparation. That season of stillness wasn't stagnation, it was sacred transformation. And this moment, this holy second, you didn't skip it. And now, your life will never be the same. You've crossed a threshold, chosen one. You are no longer standing at the edge, wondering if your life will change. You've already stepped into the place where faith speaks louder than fear, where peace no longer fades with circumstance, and where miracles have moved from distant concepts to intimate companions. You're not waiting for God to show up. He's already here. The Lord Himself will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. So now, prepare, not with panic, but with peace. Because in the coming days, not months, not years, but days, you will sense something shift. It might be a line spoken in conversation, a door opening unexpectedly, a message that lands in your inbox at the precise moment your soul needed it. It might seem small to others, but it will shake something ancient in you, something sacred, something known. What if that moment isn't the beginning of the miracle, but the proof that it's already been released? What if God wasn't waiting to act, but waiting for your heart to align? And now it is. You are no longer the version of yourself that begged for clarity, apologized for existing, or tolerated what muted your spirit. You've healed, layer by layer, choice by trembling choice. And now you are whole enough to receive without dissolving into what's around you. Can you feel the readiness rising in you? You're ready for love that feels like shelter, not tension. Opportunities that pour into you, not siphon your soul. People who don't compete with your light, but protect it. You're not too late. You're not too broken. You're right on time for the unveiling that heaven wrote with your name in the margin. Let me tell you about Tabitha Brown, actress and vegan chef turned viral inspiration. Before fame, she lived in chronic illness and spiritual exhaustion. But one day, in her car, she whispered, "Okay, God, I trust you with my life." That quiet yes turned into a global platform. She later said, "When you're being who God created you to be, you have no competition. What if you're one yes away from stepping into your own divine assignment?" He has made everything beautiful in its time. Ecclesiastes 3:11. That means nothing was wasted. Not the delay, not the detour, not the days you felt invisible. All of it, every tear, every silence, was woven into what is now arriving. And then there's Marcus, the quiet man who worked night shifts cleaning trains in a freezing rail yard. He never complained. He always smiled. He would hum worship songs under his breath while wiping graffiti from cold metal. For years, no one acknowledged his faithfulness. Until one day, a woman, exhausted and on the verge of suicide, missed her train and sat on a bench Marcus had just cleaned. She found a sticky note he'd left behind that read, "God sees you." even in the dark. That note saved her life. 2 years later, she found Marcus and told him, and he simply said, "I always believed my job was holy." You never know how your obedience is echoing through eternity. And yes, someone has been prepared for you. Their story, their scars, their seasons, they are not random. Just like you, they've walked through fire. They've learned how to pray with no words, how to cry without sound. And when your paths align, it won't feel forced. It won't feel like fear. It will feel like destiny, not because it's flawless, but because it's aligned. Stay open, chosen one. Don't let past heartbreak close the door to heaven's restoration. The one God is sending won't drain you. They'll discern you. They'll see both your strength and the shadows you walked through to get here. And they won't flinch. They'll honor it. Tonight, before you sleep, stand before the mirror. No filters, no hiding, just your eyes and your breath. And speak this truth, even if your voice trembles. I am chosen. I am worthy. I am ready. My miracle is here. Say it again. Say it until your voice becomes steady, until the atmosphere around you bends in reverence, until your soul remembers it has always been enough. Because the Most High believes in you, even when you fell silent, even when you pulled away, even when you said, "I'm done," He stayed. And now He asks only one more thing. Stay open, not perfect, not polished, just open. Because when your heart is open, blessings don't trickle, they flood. Ideas arrive like birds building nests in spring. Peace settles where chaos once screamed, and provision finds you not through striving, but through surrender. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Psalm 23:6. That's what divine favor looks like. It doesn't follow performance, it follows surrender. It doesn't require you to chase, it only asks for one word, yes. Say it now. Yes, Lord, I'm here. I receive it all. I won't resist the river. I won't fear the flood. I say yes to love, to calling, to joy, to peace, to you. And if you're still here, still reading, still breathing through the tears, still holding on to something invisible and holy, then receive this loud and clear. This is your confirmation. This wasn't just a collection of words. It wasn't random. It wasn't a coincidence. This was a divine appointment made long before today. You didn't stumble upon it. Heaven delivered it. Others may have scrolled past. Others clicked away. But you stayed. Why? Because your soul recognized truth before your mind could explain it. While the world is seduced by noise, you chose the whisper of God. That decision wasn't minor. It was prophetic. And God sees it. The eyes of the Lord search the whole earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to Him. 2 Chronicles 16:9. You are stepping now into a divinely protected season, a season where the atmosphere around you shifts to match the anointing within you. People are praying for you, people you've never met. Your name is being whispered in rooms where doors are opening without your knocking, and your spirit is awakening, dreams are rising, wisdom is sharpening, vision is becoming clearer. Can you feel the veil thinning? Soon you'll understand why you cried the way you did, why you waited so long, why the silence felt so cruel. Because it was never punishment, it was preparation. And when it unfolds, and it will, don't be surprised if it moves you to tears. Not grief, but recognition. Recognition that heaven really never forgot you. Let me tell you about author and poet Morgan Harper Nichols. Before her words touched millions, she was rejected by publishers, overlooked by gatekeepers. One day she began writing anonymous letters of encouragement to strangers online, just listening to the Spirit. Those quiet acts turned into a global movement. She once said, "You are free to show up in pieces and still be whole." That's where you are now, wholly seen, wholly chosen, even in your unfolding. I also want you to remember Elijah. He didn't find God in the earthquake, nor the fire, nor the wind, but in the whisper. 1 Kings 19:12. That's what just happened to you. God didn't shout this message. He whispered it to your soul, and you were still enough to hear it. This message isn't just meant to inspire you, it's meant to instruct you. You are now responsible for what you've received. This is not the season for passive belief. It's a season for active alignment. So begin to walk like someone who's been called. Speak like someone whose words carry weight. Love like someone who's been healed, even if you're still healing. Let your habits reflect your hope. Let your silence carry strength. Set aside time, even 10 minutes a day, to sit with God. Open your Bible not as a task, but as a conversation. Speak aloud what you're believing for. Declare what you refuse to entertain. Clean your space. Clear out what no longer supports your peace. Guard your mind by what you consume, your heart by who you allow close, and your time by what you say yes to. This is a holy shift, but heaven won't override your will. It demands your cooperation, and you may wonder, is this really for me? Yes. This is your moment. This is your word. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. Hebrews 3:15. You are not powerless, you are positioned, so rise each day with intention, and lay down each night with surrender. Let worship become your war plan. Let stillness become your strength. Let the word of God become your anchor. In quietness and trust is your strength. Isaiah 30:15. And when doubt visits again, and it will, remind yourself, you are not who you were. You are not returning to confusion. You are not stepping backward. You are walking in divine alignment. You are walking into promises fulfilled. So now, if this message reached you like thunder cloaked in whisper, like lightning wrapped in grace, seal it. Leave a comment below declaring, I'm walking in alignment now, not as a performance, as a prophetic declaration. This wasn't just another message. This was your moment. And now, chosen one, as this final breath of the message settles over your spirit like evening dew, let this truth remain. You were never behind. You were never forgotten. You were never too broken for the promise. You were simply being prepared, quietly, patiently, powerfully, until heaven said, now. Everything you've just heard, everything your spirit responded to, wasn't just content, it was confirmation, the timing, the tears, the trembling. It was all sacred alignment. So as you step forward from here, do not return to old voices. Don't shrink back into familiar doubt. You are walking in divine alignment, and nothing hell throws at you can undo what heaven has already sealed. Let this not end as just a feeling, but continue as a new way of living. Walk like someone marked. Breathe like someone sent. Love like someone already found. And if this message stirred something in you, if it helped you see clearer, stand stronger, or believe again, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, if your spirit was moved, share it with someone who needs reminding that God hasn't forgotten them. Comment below with the words, I'm walking in divine timing now, to seal this moment with your own faith. And subscribe to this channel so you never miss what heaven is preparing next. To those who've supported this message with super thanks or any act of love, from the depths of my soul, thank you. And to those who simply stayed, watched, listened, cried, prayed, or whispered yes while no one saw, your presence here is a gift. Whether you give publicly or quietly, carry the flame of belief in silence. Heaven sees it all. And now, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May peace meet you in unexpected places. May joy find you even when the night is long. May strength rise in you when you least expect it. And may you remember always, you were chosen for such a time as this. Until next time, walk boldly, stay open, and never forget, he's not just with you, he's ahead of you. Amen.